Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see a packed house, as always. I just want to let you know that this meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in the completed speaker card to the board secretary. Our flag salute this evening is being led by fourth grade students at Meadows, Erin Huey, and Brooklyn Sturker. Please come forward. Please stand.
Place your right hand on your heart and your eyes on the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very nice, ladies. Thank you. Okay, do we have a report on any action taken in closed session? Clerk, Trustee Chin?
We do. In closed session, the Board of Education took action with a vote of 5-0 to issue notices of release to temporary certificated employees identified by employees number 590 and 1139, pursuant to Education Code Section 44909, 44918, and 44920, effective at the end of the 23-24 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices.
Thank you. I need an approval of the agenda for March 5th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete speakers' cards and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have the opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you are addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic and 20 minutes per agenda item. So at this point, I'd like to know if we have any report from our Millbrae Education Foundation. MEF. No MEF. Okay. How about the Millbrae Education Association, MEA?
Good evening, President Ferrario, trustees, and Superintendent Hickey. Just wanted to say MEA appreciates that negotiations have finished early again this year. We give a lot of thanks to our negotiators, Ralph, and the cabinet for sitting at the table and working with us again this year. Our members will be voting this week and hope to let you know by the next board meeting whether it's been approved or not. We hope that you continue and finish negotiations with CSBA as well, and soon for them too. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Classified School Employees Association, CSEA. Seeing no one. Members of the community? Seeing no. All right, so the favorite part of this evening, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Hickey.
I pressed the wrong button. All right, good evening, everyone, and we are so pleased to have staff, students, and families from Meadows School this evening for our school spotlight. So I'd like to introduce the Meadows principal, Ms. Catherine Waslif, who will start us off.
Good evening. Good evening, President Ferrario, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Hickey, Executive Cabinet, Meadows parents, staff, and students. This evening, it is both my honor and privilege to present Meadows Elementary School's Spotlight. Let me begin by first acknowledging our partners in education. Let me continue on here with the slides here, sorry. A debt of gratitude to our Board of Trustees, our district office staff, our students, our families, our Meadows PTO, and our Millbrae Education Foundation. Tonight, our spotlight features Meadows' continuous improvement cycle. Our efforts and updates on those improvements and growth that we have made will be shared tonight. Together as a staff and a school, we set goals, we evaluate our progress, and we identify ways to improve our programs. And our improvement focus areas tonight include, but are not limited to, STEAM, literacy, school-wide safety, social emotional learning, and positive behavior interventions and supports. At Meadows, our PBIS school-wide motto, be safe, be kind, and be the best you can be, which we say every single morning, has taken a new meaning this year, in large part to our partnership with Harper for Kids. And I'd like to send a special shout out to Principal Hui from Spring Valley, who introduced me to Peanut and Tim Harper, the founders of Harper for Kids. The Harper for Kids program introduces our students to character traits from legendary UCLA coach John Wooden's Pyramid of Success and his definition of success, which is, it is happiness in your heart because you made the effort 100% to do your best. And as a UCLA graduate myself, I am proud to share Coach Wooden's philosophy with our Meadows Mustangs. Each month, our teachers introduce, teach, and reinforce the Pyramid of Success focus, which I also support with our Book of the Month program. Additionally, the Pyramid of Success is emphasized with regular Harper for Kids assemblies featuring athletes. So up here on the slide, you can see some of our assemblies. We have Bill Cartwright, who is a former NBA champion who played with Michael Jordan, right, boys and girls? Remember that? Okay, that was a while ago. We had USF tennis team. They came and gave an assembly. We've had all kinds of mentors and athletes that have come and shared their journey along with their advice and suggestions on how the Pyramid of Success can help them and our students achieve their personal best. So tonight, we are going to present our focus areas for you, along with our Pyramid of Success, and talk about how they align together. So I'm going to begin with our focus for August and September, which was hard work and enthusiasm. And this section will be presented by Ms. Colombo and her student, Zachary Clote. And first, they're going to address the board with some success tickets. Yes, each of our trustees will be receiving a success ticket along with a $3 bill to spend in our Meadows Marketplace. Don't spend it all at once, though.
This one's for Trustee Musa for self-control and determination.
Go green, she's on the project. This way, this way, that way.
This one's for Trustee Chin for poise and confidence.
Right here. You're shaking.
Trustee Beltrami for team spirit. Trustee Barbaro, also team spirit. I'm going to hand you that one because I'm here. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. And to Trustee Ferrario for hard work and enthusiasm. Ooh, you get 3. friendship and loyalty and cooperation. And she's right in the middle.
Okay, and now Ms. Colombo and Zachary are going to talk to you a little bit about how hard work and enthusiasm are celebrated at Meadows.
All right. All right, good evening. My name is Jennifer Colombo, and I teach first grade at Meadows School. This year, we introduced the students to Coach Wooden's Pyramid of Success. Every month, we focus on one section of the pyramid. Teachers introduce the focus at the beginning of the month and teach lessons on what the focus is and how to achieve it. Each week, success tickets, like our board was given, are given out to students who have achieved that focus for the week. These used to be called Meadows Marvelous, and they are announced on Fridays at the morning announcements. Every month, students from each class are chosen as monthly success students for the month. Both teachers and students have been receptive to the pyramid and strive to achieve their personal best. It is heartwarming to watch the students celebrate one another when we announce weekly success tickets and success students of the month. Okay, ready?
Hello, my name is Zachary. I am a hardworking and enthusiastic first grade student. My teacher is Miss Colombo. At our school, success is celebrated daily, weekly, and monthly. Once a month, we celebrate our pyramid of success students. We get our picture taken, and we get $3 in Mustang bucks too. Each week, success tickets are given to students who are demonstrating their personal best on the pyramid of success focus area. Students are awarded Mustang bucks for their hard work, and sometimes we can earn them daily. I like to spend my bucks at the monthly Meadows Marketplace on toy cars, pencils, bookmarks, and other fun things. Thank you.
Our Mustangs understand that to make friends, we must first learn to be a friend. Our October focus areas of the pyramid, friendship and loyalty, are being presented this evening by Mrs. Butrago, Mrs. Reed, along with their students.
Hello, my name is Persephone Arvanites, and I'm a kindergartner. In Miss Reed's class, my buddy is Naomi Wu. She has taught me to be nice to friends. What I love the most about having buddies is our project where we wrote letters to our families.
Right.
Hello, my name is Olivia Swanson, and I'm a kindergartner in Mrs. Reed's class. We have a fourth grade buddy class, and the teacher is Mrs. Petrago. My buddy, Grayson Troy, teaches me that friends share and help one another. I love buddies because I get to read books and mostly have fun.
Good evening. My name is Naomi Wu, a fourth grader in Miss Butrago's class. This is my buddy Persephone, a kindergartner in Miss Reed's class. I'm here to share with you my experience with the buddy program and what it is. I'm here Here at Meadows, we are learning about the pyramid of success. We learn about different traits, and friendship is just one of our focus areas. I think the buddy program is a great way to build friendships, and not just friendship with kids in your grade, but with younger and older grades. Every year, each class gets to be assigned a new buddy, and throughout the year, we get to connect with each other, do our projects, and have fun. The buddy program might also benefit other students. For either grade, some students might feel lonely or perhaps are having trouble finding friends. With buddies, they have the chance to actually experience what friendship is. Being a buddy not only means doing projects with each other, but also means being there for each other when they need it. Lastly, helping my buddy makes me feel happy. I like the way Persephone looks up to me like an older buddy, and I like to watch how she learns the new things that I teach her. Students like me and Persephone wouldn't be able to connect with each other if it weren't for the buddy program, and as a result, we're really good friends.
Good evening, board members and members of the community. My name is Grayson Choi. I am a fourth grader in Ms. Petraga's class. This is my buddy Olivia Swanson. She is a kindergartner in Ms. Gleed's class. This year at Meadows, we are learning about the pyramid of success. As a big buddy, I am teaching Olivia what friendship means. During our buddy project, we read, write, and do lots of art. Olivia is great at art and always willing to lend her supplies. I have learned that Olivia is a kind and generous friend. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Ms. Petraga. I'm a fourth grade teacher. Tonight I have the opportunity to share with you about friendship, one of the character traits of the pyramid of success. I first want to share a little portion from Inch and Miles, A Journey to Success, a picture book that guides our students through the various character traits each month. The animal character, Charlie the chimp, shares, "My friends are like family. I share with them. They share with me. Respect your friends and all that you do, and they'll give back respect to you. You'll find success if this you learn. The gift of friendship must be earned. To make a friend, I do believe that you yourself a friend must be." With this, our students discuss the attributes of friendship and share examples of how they themselves can demonstrate friendship among peers. Additionally, through the buddy program, my fourth graders discovered that friendship goes beyond similar age peers. They learned that they can build meaningful relationships with those younger with them, and as Naomi mentioned, experience what friendship is. During this school year, our fourth grade class has met with our kindergarten buddies once a month. Together, the buddies complete an art project that sometimes includes reading or writing. And our fourth graders practice being patient and respectful of our kindergartners, finding opportunities to assist and share their knowledge, sometimes including drawing techniques, reading books, or correcting their spelling. But as Grayson mentioned, we find that our young buddies are models of kindness and generosity as well. To be a buddy, you need to put in the effort to be the buddy, which is what our two classes are discovering this school year. There's excitement from both classes each month, and they can't wait for the next buddy meetup.
Hi, my name is Rachel Reed. I am a kindergarten teacher. Each month we meet with our buddies. They always come to my classroom. For the month of February, we, the kindergartners, always do a big Valentine's unit, and we pretend we are the post office. At the end of the unit, I have my class write letters. This year, their buddies helped them write their letters to their families, and then the following week, we actually walked to the mailbox on Ridgewood Way and with our buddies. This is the first time we've actually ever done a field trip with our buddy class. It was a great experience. It was the first field trip for all of the kindergartners in my class and the first field trip for the fourth grade class this year. So we had a great time, and we're looking forward to it again next year.
Not the one right on the corner. Meadows, we have the box. Through STEAM education, our students are taught to find the best way as opposed to having their way, especially when it comes to experiments and projects. Cooperation was our November Pyramid of Success focus, and here to talk about cooperation in STEAM and science, our 5th grade teacher, Ms. Kelly, and our 2nd, 3rd grade combination class teacher, Mrs. Olfengren, and her 2 students. All right.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Parker, and these are some of my favorite things about science. In science, I have learned that cooperation is important. In our class experiment on clouds, I learned how they form and got to work in a group to learn about the rain cycle through a shaving cream and food coloring experiment. I like CAM science too, and I am excited for our next projects.
Nice. And then you guys want to do the poem together?
Hi, my name is Bryce, and I love science because I learned how to cooperate with my classmates. I really like CAM science. We do many fun things with CAM. We have made robots, used Scratch to code, and even made ice cream. Everybody gets to be involved and has a role.
Great job, you guys. Now they also worked with classmates to write an acrostic poem that has to do with STEAM and what that means to them. So for each letter, they have a few words to say.
S, students learning and having fun in the STEAM lab. T, teamwork makes the dream work. E, experiments that are fun and educational. A, all students have teachers have a role. M, making and experiencing new things.
Of you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and for supporting our school tonight. This is only my 2nd year at Meadows, but within that short time, I have seen our school community take on a new commitment to science. Starting last year, yes, Anna's very excited, as am I. Starting last year with the opening of the STEAM lab, which you can see in a couple of these photos, is being utilized by several teachers. To bringing CAM science this year, there is a new spark of curiosity within our students when it comes to learning science. A lot of this work would not be possible without Anna Kelly, the PTO, Jin Lee, and many others to whom we are incredibly grateful. A special thank you to our principal for also supporting these efforts, always helping us with scheduling and making sure that teachers really feel comfortable in the space and are utilizing those tools. There is nothing better than taking a moment to pause during a truly hands-on science lesson. Hopefully, what you will find is every student engaged, inquiry happening naturally, and students making real-world connections. One step on the pyramid of success is cooperation, so we framed our buddy, 5th and 2-3 combo, with this and STEAM in mind. The pyramid says to be more interested in finding the best way, not in having your way. Our goal in planning science lessons is to set students up for teamwork, collaboration, and problem solving. When students are engaged and excited about learning, we begin to see joint action towards a mutual goal. Anna and I recently had the pleasure of watching this in action.
Hello. My 5th grade class and their buddies, Emma's split 2-3 class, came together to participate in a lower field cleanup activity. The feeling of excitement was evident as students searched for the trash with their buddies. We then collected all the items and the 5th grade sorted them into categories. The next day, we came together again to count and graph the results and discuss what could be done to lower the amount of different kinds of waste. So they participated in deciding what categories there were, so it's not me just telling them what to do. They ignited an interest in sharing our results via school flyers and encouraging others to be part of the solution. Notably, the younger kids were like, ooh, how can we tell others, because of our results? In the scientific method, the last step is to publish and share your results. in order to advance understanding through collaboration. There's no point when brilliant scientists doing some amazing thing in a corner somewhere and nobody knows about it. So this was awesome to see it come organically to this group. They decided, we've learned this thing, we want to tell others. So students are currently still asking about when they can do it again. So, hey, it works.
Thank you for bearing with us. We're almost at the end. My apologies. At Meadows, we're determined to improve our literacy program, and that includes ensuring that all our students are making significant gains in their reading abilities. Our continued literacy efforts include a now full-time reading specialist, Ms. Susan Black, education specialist, Mrs. Melio's Sunday reading program, school-wide reading nook visits, after-school differentiated kindergarten intervention groups, take-home books for our K through second graders, and our Pyramid of Success aligned Book of the Month program. So you can see it's a full court press for literacy at Meadows. No athletic pun intended there. Here to explain the self-control and determination it takes to improve as a reader, our students Ruby Lee, Natalie Shao, and education specialist Gina Melio.
Hello, my name is Ruby Wee. I am in first grade in Miss Colombo's classroom. It takes determination to learn to read well. I try hard and I read my take-home books every night and I want to be a great reader. I practice every night for 20 minutes and I really love to be read to. Miss Waslif reads books each month that teach us about the Pyramid of Success. One of my favorite books was read to me in October. It's called The Invisible Boy and I loved it because it taught me about friendship. We also do writing projects when Miss Waslif reads to us. Each week, my teacher has a time that she takes us to the reading nook. It's like a library. That's also where we had an author visit us to read his books that he wrote.
Okay, you're going to go after me. Hi, everybody. My name's Gina Melio, and I'm the education specialist at Meadows, and very proud of every aspect of our literacy program that we have. As we all know, that reading is the foundation of all learning, so I'm very proud of what Ms. Waslif's done and what all the teachers, all of us today together have collaboratively done. So we are determined to work very hard to meet every child's learning needs, knowing that not every student learns the same way. As one of our education specialists in Millbrae, I am grateful for the opportunity that I've been provided with and utilize every day, which is the Sunday system. So, Ms. Passmore, thank you very much for providing that to us, which is a systematic, multisensory phonics and reading program that is making a world of difference for our emerging readers. So with that said, I want to introduce one of my fabulous Sunday readers, Natalie. Okay, ready?
Hi, my name is Natalie Shao. I am a third grader in Mr. Lowe's class. I also attend Miss Melio's reading group, Miss Melio's Sunday reading group, because I am determined to read well. She is very kind and helps me a lot. I feel great about my reading. I am working on blends, short and long vowels, and vowel teams. My favorite book is Madeline, and I can also read the All by Myself, The Runaway Bunny. At night, I am supposed to read my books, but sometimes I forget to.
Nicely done.
And last but not least, safety is our top priority at Meadows. It's a shared responsibility that we all work to improve upon each and every day. This year, our Meadows staff and students and Marvelous Meadows PTO participated in the Safe Routes to School Fellowship. And we also secured, thank you, Mr. Crane and the Executive Cabinet, a $20,000 traffic safety grant for our Meadows community. It's been a long journey, 2-year journey to secure that grant. And here to share with you the active role that they take in ensuring our community remains safe are two of our proud safety patrollers, Aaron and Brooklyn, who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and our PTO executive board members. So come on up. You guys want to do this first, and then Mom can clump on the steps.
Good afternoon. My name is Brooklyn Stoker, and I am a 4th grader in Miss Petraga's classroom. I must inform you that this year I'm a proud safety patroller. At our awesome safety patrol system, I must be alert at all times. And it's also an active role I play because you see, there are 3 jobs that are kinder helper, morning drop-off, and afternoon pickup. As a kinder helper, I help our kindergartners open their lunch and recycle and compost. At morning drop-off, I help our students safely exit their cars. At afternoon pickup, we help students get into their cars safely. As a proud patroller, I have participated in our school-wide walk audit, Walk and Roll to School Day, and Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. On Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, our school took time to read, write, and learn all about the brave steps Ruby took to end bullying.
Hello, my name is Erin Huey. I'm a 4th grader in Miss Petraga's class. Alertness and action are 2 parts of the pyramid of success that I practice daily as a safety patroller. As a patroller, I have many responsibilities like morning drop-off duty and helping our kindergartners at lunch. I make sure they are safe at lunch, that they follow the expectations, and to be kind and safe. This year, we joined Safe Routes to School and participated in Walk and Roll to School and Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day is an annual day where we learn about Ruby Bridges and how strong she was to stand up for her rights and to fight to end all forms of bullying.
Thank you, girls. That was excellent. With Miss Waslif's wonderful lead, she helped us partner with Safe Routes to School because I'm sure, as many of you know, in front of any school during pickup and drop off, it can be mayhem. Even though everyone is there to get their kids there safely, sometimes they forget. So we were able to partner with Safe Routes for School, and they actually sent some people out to kind of see what's happening in the front of the school community, different corners, and they were able to help us secure a blinking sign at our crosswalk that does not have a stop sign. So it's been very, very helpful to kind of just remind parents and other people in the community, hey, there are little people and adults walking on the street. We've seen too many close calls, so it was a wonderful thing that Ms. Waslif helped lead us in getting to make the community safer, not only during school hours, but it's there 24 hours a day when anyone needs to cross the street. So that was wonderful, and it also kind of is also a reminder for our little safety patrols out there. I've heard stories of the kids saying, hey, someone was driving way too fast this morning. So it's a good reminder to everyone, parents and others in the community, to slow down and protect the schools and children and pedestrians, no matter where you are. So that's it. Thank you.
This is Leanna, Aaron's mom. She wanted to say a few words.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have 3 kids, one in high school. There's Dylan, hi, hello. He's a 9th grader at Mills, and I have 2 at Meadows. You met Aaron and you met Bryce. So a funny story, when we moved here about a little over 10 years ago, it was for the schools, obviously, because they're fantastic. But there was an ongoing joke in our household, and it was, let me back up. The safety patrol, the crosswalk situation wasn't as it was now, how it is now. So there really wasn't a very consistent crossing guard. And my mom would tell the kids, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I'm gonna apply to be a crossing guard for the school. And even then, my little ones were like, no, Lola, the cars go too fast and they're gonna honk at you. They're gonna be angry, you know. And all joking aside, we already noticed back then how fast the cars go and how unsafe it could be at times. So we were really, really appreciative, I know I am, for all of this effort to bring this crosswalk, this blinking light, beacon, all of it, yes. And safety patrol, they're so excited to press the button, and so am I. It's safe all the time, and we really appreciate all the efforts from everyone. Thank you.
And just upcoming events, this March is Team Spirit. We're doing a door decorating contest. April and May, Poise Confidence, and we end the year with personal best. So that is our presentation. My apologies for the lengthiness of it. And are there any questions, or just thank you from the bottom of our heart for all of your support?
No apologies necessary for the length. We love every minute that we can spend time with the community and our students. So round of applause for all of you out there. Please stay, Ms. Waslif. We're going to go down the board here. I'm going to start with Trustee Barbaro. Do you have any comments, questions?
Wow, kids, great job. To all the kids in Millbury, wow. Meadows Mustang, wow. And I want to thank you for inviting me, well, actually accepting my entry into Meadows School and walking around 2 weeks ago. It was really nice. And I got a chance to see the STEAM lab, which was really, really impressive to me. It was really cool. You know, and Anna was there, and Anna gave me a tour of all the equipment. Hello, Anna. And I was really, really excited. But the most exciting part of my little Meadows trip there was to go out into the hallway and see the kids when they were changing classes. And they were so excited and so, like, happy, you know, and they were so engaged. And so that was my real takeaway being up there. But I want to thank you again. Great presentation from your teachers and your safety patrol. I love it. You know, I talked to you about that up there at the school, and I just love that idea. The kids are out helping kids, and they wear their vests. That is so cool. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you, everyone from Meadows.
Oh, you got the Team Spirit.
I love it. Can I buy something with it? Maybe a hat
or
$3
bills out there. We produce our own though.
T-shirt. I can get a T-shirt. Thank you.
Trustee Chin.
Well, thank you from the bottom of our heart.
in terms of everything that you guys are doing. And kids, wow, what an amazing job. Teachers, it's so great to see this whole Millbrae Meadows community out here. It's clear how strong of a group that you guys are. I love the pyramid of success. I used to read Inch and Miles to my kids. We're huge Coach John Wooden fans, so it's great. And I am just so warmed by all of the cooperation that I see. You know, the buddies, the safety patrol, and it really looks like the older kids are so happy to be working with the younger kids, and that's so meaningful for the younger kids. And it just is so touching to see all of that. Just really, really wonderful, all the things that you guys are doing at Meadows. It was fun to see the book nook or the reading nook, and I haven't yet seen the STEAM lab yet, but I'm really excited to do that. And really excited and glad that this safety issue has been resolved, because I know cars fly down Helen and it's always a little scary. So it's really great that there's finally something in place to make sure that our kids are always safe and our parents coming to get our kids. So thank you for everything that you guys have done. Really, really wonderful job, kids. I hope you guys all give yourselves a big, huge round of applause.
Trustee Musa.
All right. Okay. I agree with my colleagues. I'm not going to repeat the same stuff, but anyway, thank you for your leadership, Principal Waslif. Obviously, you have a great team at your school with parents and especially the kids, and our PTAs are definitely involved. But you know, we talk about literacy, math and stuff, but I'm glad you talked about science, because science is part of our everyday life. And I got to give you the kids, I want to tell you that you taught me something today. And that is something that whether you're in kindergarten or fifth grade or middle school or high school, two things I got my takeaway from you guys, what I learned, and you remind me of something, is teamwork and collaboration. You know, us here as a board, we have teamwork. Sometimes we don't agree on things, but we talk about it. And it's the teamwork and collaboration that makes us make good decisions. So I learned that from you guys today, kids. So I appreciate you for doing that and reminding me of, as adults, that we still do the same thing as you guys are learning today. So again, it is a teamwork and it's a collaboration. The school districts, the staff, the board, the community, our city, that's what it takes to make good decisions, so we can give you guys, kids, the best opportunity to learn more, so you can grow up and be good adults. So thank you.
Trustee Beltrami.
Well, thank you for an excellent presentation. I am so impressed with all of the students. Your abilities to do such great public speaking, your reading and writing are fantastic. You are just so awesome to see your presentation tonight. And I just want to thank the staff and everything that you're doing to make Meadows such a wonderful school. I feel like I get to benefit from this. My granddaughter is a first grader at Meadows, and I do take advantage of your wonderful safety patrol and the great crossing, because I pick her up every day after school. And so it's just so fantastic to be actually part of this wonderful community. So thank you so much for a great presentation.
Well, they stole all my thunder. But I just want to thank all of you parents out there, because without you sending all these wonderful children to us every day, all of these things wouldn't be happening. So I want all the parents to stand up, please. Great, thank you. And I would venture to say that the most important thing that you want for your children when you leave them at school is for them to be safe. And the safety piece is huge. And to know that we have leaders out there that take that extra responsibility to make sure you go that extra mile to make sure your students are safe is very commendable. So thank you, staff, and your principal for leading that charge. So thank you so much for that. Students, you are benefiting from all of these things. I can't wait to come and spend my bucks. because I don't know. I'm going to have some suggestions as to what I should purchase, what's the hot item, but I'll find that out later. Anyway, Catherine, that was an amazing presentation. It's always the best when we have students here and teachers here. You know, teachers, you've worked all day today, and to think that you came out tonight to support your students and to support your principal is just huge. So I really thank you for that. So I'm going to end with Superintendent Hickey. Would you like to make a few comments?
Yes, students, you did a wonderful job. I am just so impressed with the way you spoke, and I know you were very well prepared. I even noticed some of you were practicing the pausing and the speaking, so wonderful job. And I've just really enjoyed spending time at Meadows, and I have had a chance to see the STEAM lab, go into the reading nook, and also read to about 4 of the grade levels. And I think one of the most exciting things is when I came back to Meadows and one of the kindergartners remembered my name and said, "Hi, Mrs. Hickey." And that is what makes this job the most wonderful part of being a part of this small community and having students know who you are just by going and reading. So thank you, Meadows community, for being out here. And I think Ms. Ferraro is going to tell us what's happening next, which is going to be very exciting for students.
We know that you all have to get home at a reasonable time tonight. It's a school night. So we're going to take a little short break, and we have some cookies here to hand out to you. So please come up and get a cookie, and thank you again.
Shut the door. Shut the door here. How about the other one? How about the other door? Yes, I am. Do I have to leave and get my coat?
You guys are hot? Tell Tom to crank up the heat.
I can't believe you just said that.
That's a good one.
Thank you, Claudia.
Okay,
Now I can focus.
we sure know how to clear a room, huh? But thank you, Anna, for staying. You represent Meadows here. There we go. Okay, we're going to move on to trustee communication and comments. So I'm going to start on this side. Trustee Beltrami, would you like to start it up?
Sure. I just want to thank everyone who came to the Rotary Lunar New Year last week. It was a celebration in regard for the Lunar New Year, but also to help raise money for the schools. We held a fund to need for makerspace and calm spaces, and those two fund to needs raised about $2,500 that will be coming to the school district to support those two initiatives. Also, the third grade are getting their dictionaries this week from the Rotary, so I wanted to just give a big thank you to all of the Rotarians who are bringing out the dictionaries for all of our third grade students. And also just a real quick reminder that the Rotary and the Mills Interact Club are hosting a spring festival at the end of this month on March 30th in Central Park. It will be going on from 11 until 1:30, and at 1 o'clock there is the Easter egg hunt. And they'll have face painting and raffle games going on and lots of nice things for the kids to be doing. So I'm hoping that all of the students will come out for that big celebration. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Musa.
Sure. I don't have much to report out, but I do want to agree with Trustee Beltrami. The event, Lunar New Year, was a fun event as usual, and it's great to see everyone in the community come out and support the fundraising for the Millbury School District. So again, thank you, Rotary, for all that you do for our community. Okay, that's it.
Trustee Chin.
Well, I see Dr. Malatesta in the audience, so I just wanted to let folks know that we visited the STEAM lab. A few of us saw the STEAM lab at Lomita Park, and it was amazing. I really was super impressed and really wanted to specifically thank the Peninsula Chinese Business Association and Kathy Zavaleta, who really had the vision and spearheaded this whole effort. And it's a really amazing addition for the kids, and just wanted to really just give a shout out to all of that and thank everybody for getting that done.
Trustee Barbara.
Yes, as everybody just said about the Lunar New Year banquet that we just went through, it was really nice. The Rotary Club did a great job, and it was basically all for donating money to our schools, you know, and they really highlighted the schools a lot during that banquet. So I wanted to thank them in public. And I know we do have a big MEF gala coming up. And the date is, again, I'm sorry?
23rd.
23rd, March 23rd. Are you sure? Wow. Saturday? 23rd. So that's going to be really a great event for the MEF, and they do so many fantastic things for our kids. So we're looking forward to that. And Meadows was great. The presentation was fantastic. The kids did excellent. And it's so nice to see kids get up and perform and talk and share. Sometimes they sing, sometimes they play music here. But this time, you know, it was really nice to see their patrol group, you know, out there helping kids, you know, get to school. And so I had a chance to see their STEAM lab. That was really good. I want to get to Lomita Park to see their STEAM lab. I know that you had a big presentation. I couldn't make it, but I'd like to pop in sometime just to take a look at it and really enjoy that. So that's all I have.
I'm just going to ditto on the STEAM lab at Lomita Park. three of us were able to make the presentation. Just another huge shout out to the Peninsula Chinese Business Association, who fundraised $55,000 to start that lab. And without the efforts of a fifth grade teacher named Kathy Zavaleta, it would not have opened so beautifully as it did last week. There were 8 members of the of PCBA there, and they were so thrilled. They took pictures. I know you're going to see pictures all over the place. And one of the board members said to me, he said, you know, when we see things like this in action, it makes us want to come back and give more and more and more. So we can't thank them enough for what they did for Lomita Park. Don't want to miss a shout out to our Rotary friends as well. Their evening, you know, with the Fund in Need was huge. An undertaking like that takes a lot of people, a lot of hours, and just really appreciate all the efforts that our community goes to support our schools. So I know there's Lions. I'm going to have a shout out for the Millbrae Community Foundation, which I'm a board member of. They're providing some of the treats for the students who are doing the Easter egg festivities. So anyway, our community partners are amazing. So just a shout out to all of them. That's it. So next, Superintendent Hickey, your report.
All right. And just to tag on to our community partnerships, I was at Lomita Park this morning, and I got to see the Rotary do the presentation for the third graders to pass out the visual dictionaries. And I think it's very important to talk about the fact that they're just these beautiful colored dictionaries that have a great resource in the back. So there's maps as well as the flags of different countries. One student had it open to the dinosaur page, and there was pictures of different dinosaurs. I hear the outer space pages are really well liked too. So thank you to the Rotary for doing that, as well as they did donate. They gave a large donation to our school district, and we are going to put that towards field trip scholarships for any student in Millbrae who may need that. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of special board meetings that we've had in the last 2 weeks. On Friday, February 23rd, we had our first board retreat all together with myself as the new superintendent. And I just think we are off to a wonderful start of building a wonderful partnership. And I think having an effective board and superintendent relationships really makes a huge difference in terms of the district operations. And so we started the board retreat by, you know, all sharing our why I wanted to become a superintendent, and why each trustee telling their story of what brought them to serve the Millbrae community. Little bit of a discussion of my initial impressions of Millbrae Elementary School District in more of an informal environment. We had a discussion about communication formats and protocols, and then just a timeline of the superintendent's evaluation and discussion of kind of the process and format of the board's feedback for me that will happen in June. And then on Tuesday, February 27th, we had our PTA, PTO, MEF joint meeting, and that was held in the Taylor Library. It was just, the tone was really positive about what all of our wonderful parents and families do to support our schools. They shared their goals for the year, their community builder activities and fundraising events. And really the emphasis is on community building activities and all of the things that they do to build community. And the board was just excited to hear about the amazing events. Families and schools are partnering together to build community, and they just learn from each other, getting great ideas and also partnering together. For example, I think Lomita Park was sharing that they borrowed, I know that when you go to Green Hills, they have all these huge Connect Fours, life-size Connect Fours, and so they were able to lend that to Lomita Park for one of their events. And just a few pictures from school visits. So if you look at the right side, that's a picture actually from Trustee Ferrario, who showed us the STEAM lab, the grand opening of it, and you can see a scientist, fifth grade scientist, who is all dressed up in his lab coat, kind of sharing with the younger students, all the great STEAM activities. Green Hills in the middle there had their third grade invention convention that I got to be a part of. They could either research a famous inventor or they could create their own invention, and they had boards to talk about their inventions. My favorite one was a toothbrush that had the toothpaste connected into it with a hole, so you didn't actually have to keep track, and you could just press that toothpaste and it would go directly into the toothbrush. And I also spent some time at Lomita Park and just watch it. I think if you're ever having a bad day, just go into a kindergarten class, because that will cheer you up. And Miss Orlando's class was singing and dancing to the umbrella song and for the letter U with the sound So that is my report for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to turn it back to you, Superintendent Hickey, with our next presentation.
Right, our presentation tonight will focus on our English language learners. As a district, 19% of our students in the Millbrae Elementary School District are classified as EL, or English learners. Ms. Terry Brenner, who's the Director of Educational Administrative Services, will get us started and introduce our EL coordinator, Mr. Rich Rodriguez.
Good evening, President Ferrario, trustees, and all educational partners in the room tonight. It is my pleasure to introduce Rich Rodriguez, our EL coordinator. He is part of our Ed Services team, and I know you often see Ms. DeMaio and I presenting on behalf of Ed Services, but tonight you get to hear from Rich. One of the things that I want to share with you is we've looked at CASP data and we've kind of delved a little bit into student groups, but tonight you get to hear from Mr. Rodriguez. It's good to use multi-measures, and so he's going to talk not about CASP, but about other data that we have. Our EL learners are on a beautiful journey, because at the end of the day, when they graduate, we hope they all graduate with a seal of biliteracy. Our focus is reclassification, and part of the EL roadmap, one of the first principles, is assets-based, and that is so true. And I wonder sometimes how our young learners kind of view that, because I know growing up, I took Latin, and that's probably one of my biggest regrets, that I didn't learn a language that I could speak. And today I had the opportunity of meeting a little girl who speaks mostly Mandarin, but she's learning English. And as I spoke with her mother, there was almost like an embarrassment. And I said, no, don't be. I'm so jealous, because, she's learning 2 languages, and I think that's just a beautiful thing. So tonight, Rich is here to kind of shed some light on what he and the EL tutors do, and share some of the different data and the journey that our students are on.
The arrow? Okay. About that, okay, all right. Here we go. Again, I'll stand on the side. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here, board members and members of the cabinet, Superintendent Hickey. It is a pleasure to basically speak to you about our multilingual students, or our English language learners. It is my hope that in this short presentation to essentially cover four areas. One is basically the composition of our EL students in terms of their demographics, of where they happen to be positioned. As we heard from Superintendent Hickey, they do make about 19% of our population. But as you can see from this first slide, in terms of where their representation is on the various school campuses, the 4 elementary schools, including our middle school, respective to their overall populations. The second part of my presentation will basically deal with looking at academic progress and results for our multilingual students. And then we're basically going to take a snapshot of a day in the walk of our EL learner students, and looking at the various levels of ELD, of which they happen to be 3. We're going to take a little bit of a look about what their instructional programs look like at each one of those levels. And then we get an opportunity to meet the ELD team that works in support of providing language development services in concert with the teachers or in combination with the teachers and many others. So in this first slide, we see that if you look at the fifth column as we read from left to right, we do have about 19% of our multilingual students in the district. And then the composition of the various schools. I'm not going to spend too much time reading the slides, but obviously, hopefully, it will provoke opportunities for our discussion. As we get into section 2, we start looking at some of the metrics that the state of California identifies for us in terms of what counts as appropriate language proficiency or moving towards proficiency for our multilingual students. And so the state of California requires us to give an assessment that they've determined, known as the LPAC exam. That stands for the English Language Performance Assessment for California, or LPAC for short. The chart there basically represents 2 years of data looking at level 4. It is a 4-point rubric on that particular chart, so students at level 1 are considered novice English learners, and those that are making their progress to levels 2 and 3 are on their journey for language development. When they finally obtain level 4, we're looking at them reaching what the state requires as basically being proficient in their language development and on the cusp for reclassification, which we'll get to shortly. But as you see, in comparing the 2 school years from 2021-22 to the 22-23 school year, across the peninsula, we saw basically a dip in scores from level 4, and not only for our district, but also for the county and the neighboring counties to the north and to the south of us. The only one that did show a moderate increase was the state of California. But keep in mind that populations of these samples are also very important. The state of California had 830,000 students included in that sample. We only had about 415. So level 4 proficiency on the LPAC is one of the metrics that the state of California looks at. The other metric that they look at is, are children making growth from one level to the next? So whatever level a child tests in, if they test in a level 1, are they making 1 year's growth in 1 year's time? The state of California basically looks at that as a requirement in terms of also a second index point for growth of our overall language proficiency students. So what we see there in the bar graph is essentially 2 years worth of data, looking at 2022 and 2023. And we see that, again, those children at the bottom colored, which is in the deep purple, I guess, we did see a drop in scores. That means that children regressed 1 level by about 1 percentage points from those 2 years. So the aqua basically means that they maintained a level, and the light blue that you can barely see there and the purple, which represents the top of those 2 bar graphs, represents children that either maintained a level 4 or were able to grow a level. We add those 2 levels together, and then basically the composite score on the California dashboard will look something like this. And so the determination for us from last year was that we had approximately 54% of our students making progress towards language proficiency, whether they made a level 4 or they were making from one growth to the next. How we compare across the county, I did a cursory study of some of the school districts and knowing and seeing what the proficiency levels were. So looked at Burlingame, looked at San Carlos, looked at Belmont Redwood Shores. No one was above 60% in terms of proficiency for our multilingual students across the peninsula. This is significant because, again, these are just 2 indexes that the state of California provides for us. But really where I think the rubber meets the road for children tracking in terms of their language proficiency is reclassification. What we mean by that is the culminating point for the language development journey of our multilingual students, our English language learners. What it really represents is that we move the title of EL learner, and they become redesignated fluent English proficient students. That is significant because what we do with reclassification is we're not only looking at the state measures that are listed here that we looked at earlier on the LPAC, we're also looking at grade level content in terms of how students are performing across the major content areas. We're also incorporating teacher input as well as parent inputs. So these are multiple measures when we look at reclassification. Why that is so significant is because it represents a more universal view of what their capacities are for instruction and also for academic excellence. Now, last year, we reclassified 60 students out of nearly 400. This year, we've already done 1 round of reclassification looking at last year's scores, and we have reclassed 57 students thus far. We are currently in the midst of providing that same state measure right now. This is LPAC testing season. So I and the EL tutors are heavily engaged in that process of delivering the LPAC exam. And I believe that we are more than well on track of meeting the 60 that we had last year, if not exceeding that. Now, I do want to say that last year we had 394 students. We started out with this year with about maybe 415. We're now down to about maybe 360, but that's because we reclassified the 57. So reclassification is not the end journey for us though, because once a child reclassifies, we're required by the state of California to monitor their growth for their performance for at least 4 years. Depending on when they reclassify, so if they reclassify in first grade, we're going to be monitoring them pretty much essentially through their elementary school career. On the other hand, if they reclassify, say, in 7th grade, we will monitor them for 8th grade, but then, of course, they will move on to the high school district. And so then we hand off essentially the baton to the high school district, and then they will continue to monitor those students. But what it really boils down to is what is happening in the day in the life of our English language learners at various levels. As we looked at, the state of California has 4 levels of proficiency on the LPAC, but there are 3 instructional levels for English development. And those are ELD levels 1, 2, and 3. ELD is a separate content area. It has its own instructional standards, very much like math and science. They've been in existence now for well over 10 years. And in addition to that, the teachers are the first best instructors of ELD, very similar as if they would do the content area. Now, at the middle school, we do not have EL tutors, but what we do have is a credential certificated teacher by the name of Mr. Evangelista, who basically does the structured English immersion and ELD through a 6-period day. He also then incorporates those children from the various levels into his, what is called at the master schedule for Taylor, the 7th period, which is the social emotional learning class. But at levels 1 and 2, the main focus for our children is to provide a rich oral language development. We want to work on that expressive and receptive language. Why? Because those are the first building blocks of how people acquire language. That is what my daughter is acquiring language right now. Languages in our home. She's learning to hear the words and then repeat them. We need to do that, as Ms. Brenner pointed out, with a key and a focus on providing culturally welcoming. So I believe that our teachers are doing a really good job of that. And we, as the ELD support team, including the tutors, work in concert with them to help bring that forward, okay? Oftentimes, when they first come into our school district, we have to provide a screener to determine what their ELD level is. Oftentimes, they're seeing me or our tutors, and we are that first connection that they have. And that is an awesome responsibility and a pleasure. As we move on into ELD levels 2 and 3, we're moving in concert with the Common Core standards. We're moving beyond, sorry, it's not, I'm used to doing this things. I'm not, okay, so, okay, thank you so much for that, yes. When we look at ELD levels 2 and 3, what we're really looking at is, in concert with the Common Core standards, we're really focusing on children reading to acquire information. This is text-dependent information. This is reading comprehension. And as was stated, as we looked at some of the STEAM programs that are playing out across the school, ever more so for our multilingual students, we need that content, subject matter, domain-specific vocabulary to be taught explicitly. Because when we do that, we provide the gateway for our students for further academic excellence on their way to hopefully biliteracy. But it also opens the door for the A2G requirements, and we definitely want them to be able to have access to that. Oftentimes, the student succeeds or fails based on whether they know a term or not. And I know this from firsthand because I'm the one who's providing that assessment oftentimes on behalf of the state and also on the district. So the building blocks as far as we look for having a unified program that meshes with all of our district programs, one of the main things that we hope to do and to achieve is to have communication, coherency, and consistency and alignment of all our efforts. So what that means is that it's a big task because we have 3 ELD tutors and your EL coordinator, but we're working across the district, across the 5 schools, and we work with the teachers, with the families. And so it's really important that we use our time that's going to give us the most bang for our buck. And that means that we take away all the things that could basically take away curriculum from us in terms of not take away curriculum, but basically focus on language development and how we can integrate that across the core subject areas. That's basically what this slide in terms of the big blocks represents. So then who is the ELD team? My duties basically are encapsulated in the big blocks as you see there. At the beginning of the year, it does deal with a lot of state and federal compliance. We do give a lot of assessments. We're required by the state of California to give a lot of communications, both to administration, central office, state of California, families, certainly. We need to keep them abreast of their progress of their child. And in addition to that, we also work towards providing professional learning. One of my main jobs, because just like tax laws, things are constantly changing at the state, we have to keep abreast of some of what the new legislation calls for in terms of foci or focuses for our multilingual students. And that often involves looking at ways that we can integrate our current efforts for language development in a seamless way to access language arts curriculum so that we as a team and also the teachers basically have a doable mission. I also work to provide one of the main salient points, which is outreach to the community. I myself am a former multilingual student. I am fully bilingual and bicultural. And because of that, I consider myself a goodwill ambassador to our families. So wherever I travel, on a day in and day out, it is a pleasure to work with families and also to share information with them and make them feel that they have an advocate and an ally as I travel across the district. Why that's so important? Because once parents are engaged, their children will be engaged, and the dividends are huge when it comes to their achievement. And finally, to wrap us up, our ELD tutors. These are paraprofessionals. I've had the pleasure and the benefit of working with Janet Ortiz and Barbara Frenesi now for at least 3 years. Hassan Dufir is new to our team, but the experience that all of them bring in their unique ways of working with families, of working with teachers, of being able to plan accordingly to the testing schedules that we have and working around all of the instructional day schedules at the various campuses, and then for us to have our meetings to make sure that everything meets with compliance is daunting. But as gifted and as talented as they are, they've never skipped a beat, and it is hard work, but we're very proud to do it. And we thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. And now I'll open it up for questions. And I'm sorry that was fast, but you know, I know time is short.
Thank you, Rich. I'm going to open this up to our board. Would anybody like to start? Any questions? Trustee Musa.
All right. Great, thank you for the presentation. It was good information that to know. 2 questions. So assume that you get a student in kindergarten, they get tested. What is the, like, how many years do you anticipate to get from level 1 to level 4? And at some point during, like, if it goes beyond what an average expectation where the kid needs to be to graduate out of the EL, has there been incidents when you realize that there's more than to it than just an EL? Maybe there's a learning differences, you know, that needs to be addressed in the meantime?
That is such an excellent question. I would respond by saying that, you know, our multilingual students and our EL students are not a monolithic group, and there's so much diversity even within that population. But in the first part of your question, after we provide the initial screening, we determine what level of ELD, 1, 2, or 3, they happen to test into. And then that will trigger basically the type of curriculum that is given to the student depending on the grade level. Because what we're talking about is, well, not so much the grade level, but based on the assessment itself, because this is language development. We wish to basically accelerate our children as best as possible by providing, you know, access to the ELD standards. But not only that, but we also need to provide content instruction. So this is a question that I've pondered much, because when you think about an EL student, think about what they're being asked to do. They're being asked to learn a language, perhaps maybe come to an area that is new to them, being exposed to a new culture, and then at the same time carry the academic rigor as the rest of their English-speaking peers. And so that cognitive load is awesome. So do we expect some time and delay in terms of them making progress while they're acquiring English? Yes, we do. And the state does basically give us the openness to have at least 4 or 5 years for the children to reclass. If we start moving beyond that, every single day for the last month I have been, or for the last 4 weeks, I've been on the Taylor campus providing the summative LPAC assessment. Many of the children that I'm assessing currently right now are coming up from our elementary schools from 5th grade that are now 6th graders. They're now designated by the state as long-term English language learners because they were first identified in 1st grade. Now, we have a lot of work to do in this area, but I do see also development from one year to the next. And so it is a mixed bag, and I need to be able to evaluate each child individually based upon not only their merits and their proficiency, but also based on circumstances for each student. But yes, I have seen where we see a student that we may need to take a closer look at because there may be something beyond language, and that does also happen.
Yeah, because when my son was in kindergarten, and when you do the application, they ask you, is there another language spoken at home? In my case, yes, we have, not that the kids speak the language, just at home we spoke Arabic. So automatically he got tested. So he did qualify. And for a couple of years, you know, he wasn't improving, but I'm just saying by 2nd grade, they realized there's more to it than just EL. And because he didn't speak Arabic, somebody else spoke in that language at home. So again, but he didn't get reclassified until 7th grade. So again, I'm just, maybe things have changed. That was a few years back, but I'm just, you know, just thinks that you
We're
might.
still required to obviously administer the home language survey, and that is completed by parents. And based upon that documentation at the point of enrollment, that triggers what we're required to do under the current, you know, laws that we have. But as far as variability of students, there's a wide gamut, and I would say that the system does work, but I would love it to be more flexible in terms of us being able to give more real-time data to families and to us.
Just to piggyback on that, Trustee Musa, if we go back to your son, and, you know, he was tested because of the survey, but you found out later that he had a learning disability that wasn't related to his language, his EL. So that's something I think you have to look at early on as well, correct?
Indeed, and then when we have situations like that, I am blessed not to work in isolation, and that I'm part of a district team that has special education services. So it's very much a collaboration on our part when we work forward to take a look at that. Oftentimes, you know, when we look at certain types of assessments, you know, we need to make sure that we're assessing in the appropriate language or what is the dominant language for students. So all of that does go forward. And we collaborate either way, whether it's our Latinx families that need translation or whether it's calling to ensure appointments that are being made. So that reciprocity is already happening. But we are a small school district, but it does require our attention, definitely.
Right, yeah. So I know with special education, thank you. I mean, that's a great department that you're constantly being involved with. But I think there is something to be said about the classroom teachers who have been interacting with these kids day in and day out for years and years and years and years. And maybe they are seeing something that maybe a child doesn't go by the textbook of, we don't look at a child as having, if there's a second language in the home, we don't look at learning challenges as being one of the reasons, because there's a second language. I mean, there's so many aspects, which leads me to my second question. Just to piggyback, I don't want to take anybody else's time, but when it comes to the LPAC testing at the beginning, or twice a year, I guess, the tutors are pulled out of their home sites for maybe 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, and those students aren't being serviced. And so I was wondering if you have any plans or thinking outside of the box to really remedy that, because I think that's really something huge. We can't, you know, let these students go for that long without some kind of support.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you don't mind, I'll jump in on
Yes,
this
ma'am.
one, because we've had conversations about that, and, you know, potentially this year, we're in the midst of it, so not this year, but potentially next year, you know, seeing if we can look at hiring LPAC testers specifically. That would be more of a short-term situation. And if we are able to do that, and I think that there might be some members in the community who would actually appreciate kind of a short-term assignment who could do the testing, then we could keep our EL tutors in the classroom. I think what's hard is the timing of the testing. They get to know the students, they get in the groove of things. We know about October, November is when we get into the groove, and then if we pull them for LPAC testing, that really disrupts it. So we are looking at possible options for next school year.
Well, thank you for that, because this process has been going on for as long as I've been in the district, so that the students were always pulled out. Always, always. So I'm glad that we're going to look at another model for that. So thank you for that. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Oh, go ahead, Clay.
Sorry. Thank you for going over what's happening with our EL learners. It was really nice to hear exactly the supports that are being given to our students in this area. I just had a quick question about your family engagement piece. Can you speak a little bit more about what you're doing to reach out to families in order to give them more information on how they can help their students at home?
I'd love to, thank you, and that's a great question. Part of my professional duties and responsibilities as EL coordinator require me to basically oversee and support our DLAC, which is basically a committee of parents at the district level from each school site that we discuss language development issues. And so there is usually various meetings that we have throughout the course of the year. I think we've had 3 so far. We've had other meetings as well. The purpose of that meeting is to share information, to discuss items such as what is the assessments, what are the mandated informational communications and annual communications we need to give, and also to hear from them in terms of what their thoughts are of how we're doing and how the children are progressing. Most recently, we concluded a training for our families as we were getting ready on the cusp in January for LPAC season, and we accessed some of the training materials for our families and brought them open so that they could go ahead and then help review with their children, as we were doing at home. It was a bit cumbersome because all of these state materials were only in English, and so I had to, for the families that I did have, I was doing simultaneous translations and modeling, but I believe that it was successful, and I got some reviews from that. Outside of that, I also work in concert with my colleagues so that when we have meetings, either at the district office or whether with under MTSS, I also support the school sites. When we have SAR meetings, I also support when we have meetings that require translation. I try to lend myself as much time as I can, because oftentimes I find myself working with families that have multiple children in various school sites, both at the elementary and middle school. So it's a busy job, and it's really one that inspires me. And I'll give you a secret. Oftentimes I will go to the Gate at Alameda Park, not because I have a meeting, but just because I grew up in a very similar community, and I love the community there, and I interact with the families there.
Thank you.
Trustee Barbaro.
Relocate, when you reclassify a student, what does that mean? Do you change their whole program, or?
That's a great question. Basically what it means is, depending on the level, grade level, for example, at the elementary, we have self-contained classes. So what it basically represents is that we're changing the title, the state identifier, from English learner to redesignated fluent English proficient student. This is important because once we change it in our one database, it has to go all the way to the state database based on their state ID number, and that will follow them as they ultimately move on to high school, or if they happen to leave, say in 4th grade, and go to another learning institution. At the middle school, it can basically have a change in schedule, because as I mentioned, Mr. Evangelista is the ELD teacher that is teaching the various levels of ELD, including the newcomer program. So when there's a change and a child reclassifies there, they may then qualify for the elective wheel at Taylor and no longer have to take that second period of English with Mr. Evangelista. So there you would see a physical change in the schedule.
Also, translation services, what are you offering?
So basically, I myself, when I mention translation services, is that I work to help support all of our partners, including the school sites, with translation in Spanish, because I am fluent in Spanish. And that sometimes means interpretation of documents, and I've worked to do that in the past as well. But it also means, if not translation, just being present to be able to know and to work with families at the point of registration, to know that there's someone there that is working to advocate for their child and basically to arrange, some of the tours that need to happen to acclimate a child to the campus. That's an ongoing thing. And the busy time of the year is right when we're doing that first initial screening for LPAC testing, because currently right now registration is already well underway in kindergarten and in TK. And so we'll have so as we close out the year, we're spooling up to do another year. So it's a never ending cycle. But yeah, bring your roller skates. It's busy, but it's fun.
Trustee Chen.
I have a few questions. I don't know if we addressed this. I saw that our proficiency numbers went down this year versus last year, as well as some of our neighboring school districts. I guess my question is, what is the reason we think that some of those numbers went down? Are there differences also demographically in terms of the language spoken, so whether it's an Asian language or Spanish or something like that? And then what are the resources that if you had a wish list, what kinds of resources would you want to help address some of this so that we can kind of see our numbers go up? That's most of it.
Thank you. I think looking at the first question that deals with proficiency, causal factors associated therein, not only for our district, but across the peninsula. One of the things that I would say is that across the board, we have yet to fully embrace language development services and ELD instruction. I think that we are working very hard in that area. I think that we can do more. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Currently, right now, we are assessing our children with the summative LPAC, which is the language development test for the state. I'm involved in that. I'm actually a test examiner myself at Taylor. So I'm pitching in right alongside the tutors doing that job. And it's a labor of love. But understand that that assessment is based on the ELD content standards. And so like any proficiency exam, if it's not taught to its full capacity, there will be gaps. And I don't necessarily see that for just here in our district. I see that across the board as a process for the county itself. The other thing there are differences. As I said, our EL learners are not a monolithic group. There's great diversity, both in country of origin or whether they are born here in the United States, income levels. All of those come into factors, and some of the factors that our board president was pointing out too, with learning challenges. So if I had a wish list, is for us to, and that big block, that slide that I had, to work on communication, consistency, and coherency. We have to talk about these issues, and we need to do so unilaterally across the board from all departments, all schools, and at all levels, because only then can we really have the clarity. We're going to have an excellent opportunity to do that shortly, because we're going to be revising our LCAP, which I'm sure you have been hearing about, and so hopefully a lot of these processes will be incorporated therein. And if I had a wish list, I echo Superintendent Hickey's idea that if we did have EL tutors or test examiners, that would also free up my time, because I'm also a test examiner during this period of time at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. So I would love to be able to continue the work in the other areas of professional learning and also working closely with our staff and our teachers to provide ELD.
A couple of questions. In relationship to the translating services, you're only one person, Rich. I mean, there's just no way. So I guess we just have to look to the LCAP when writing that to get translating services on site to those places where they need them on a daily basis. So that's, I guess, just a comment. The other thing I wanted to mention is what does your ELD tutor instruction look like? You say it's a combination of pull-out and in-class. And I know pull-out has kind of had a negative connotation over the years. I don't know whether that's changed. I'm hoping, because if you have a beginner student who is just learning vocabulary, it might be worth your while to have a newcomers group. And I can venture to say that at Lomita Park, you would have a hefty little group there to help with that. So that's one comment. And then in terms of ELD tutor, I know Lomita Park has more support in terms of ELD tutors than the other sites. But if you look at the numbers, it's just unbelievable how many more students they have. So, and that, I would imagine that just goes along with the numbers. I was wondering on your reclassification slide, it has the number of students, I think, that were, oh no, that's a percentage. So if you're looking at that little pie graph, if 5% were reclassified at Meadows, they probably didn't have that many that were up for reclassification, whereas there's 15 at Lomita Park. So am I reading that wrong?
No, you're not reading, I'm sorry.
It's 5 students at Meadows, and one of the things that I think is important to mention at Meadows is that we do have a larger number of special education programs there as well. So that could be one factor that those students are maybe EL and are not reclassified, and that's what Trustee Musa brings up, that we have to look at other factors because it's not just language, but it does say the number of students, and then the percentage is the percentage of EL students that were reclassified that year.
Indeed, and then also just to add that each school has a different total, or rather population of EL students, with Meadows being the smallest EL population in comparison to Lomita Park, and that will also create some variance.
Right. If you look at DataQuest and you look at the numbers there, it's pretty glaring. The number of English only as opposed to the English learner. And so, I mean, the levels are so different, in each of these categories. So it just, you have a lot of work. I'm telling you, it's, and I'm sure it's a labor of love, like you say, but hopefully we can work together and just bring things into perspective and make sure that all the students get the support that they need.
We, because we're a small school district, when we work with our families and our students, we really do see the tangible impact, and that keeps me going.
Okay, thank you so much. Great presentation, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
A second? Great, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we're gonna move on to district business. Superintendent Hickey.
Okay, the first item is the 2024-2025 Board of Trustee regular meeting calendar. And we brought this calendar to the February 20th board meeting to take action. It was pointed out that we should look at rescheduling the November 5th meeting since it is election day. This revised calendar has the first November meeting on Thursday, November 7th instead of the 5th. We checked with the Millbrae City Chamber's calendar, and that date is available for that meeting. And our first regular meeting for the 2024-25 school year is August 13th, 2024.
Okay, this is a action item. Do I have a motion to approve the calendar? Thank you, Karen. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Frank. All those in favor say, oh, any discussion on that? Anybody want to weigh into the discussion part? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We have a discussion item. Superintendent Hickey.
Right. So this discussion item is the joint use agreement with the City of Millbrae for facilities and field use and athletic field maintenance. I'm going to let Mr. Ralph Kramer, our Chief Business Officer, provide more detail on this item. But we have been meeting weekly with City Manager Tom Williams and Director of Recreation Hannah Moran. We're pleased to partner with the City of Millbrae to support our community. And so this item for tonight is up for discussion.
Yes, thank you. And President Ferrario, this is a item that we've had a long-standing agreement with the city of Millbrae and a 15-year agreement. And so this is an agreement that would take the place of that agreement because that expired. And so the city has done a tremendous job maintaining the fields, and it's been a good partnership for the community to have the fields maintained the way they are. The origination of that agreement 15 years ago was the fields were in such poor shape that the partnership came with the city and the district to pull some money together and to renovate the fields. And with that renovation and that agreement came the agreement that the city would maintain the fields and also manage the fields as well. So this agreement that we have in front of you is been many months of negotiations and going back and forth. And so this is up for discussion for you to take a look at and give feedback on the contract. And so again, I want to thank the city for their partnership. It's been a good partnership over the years. And the city, not only the school district, but the city rec department and the community in general have benefited from that partnership.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize our city manager, Tom Williams, who's in the audience as well. So welcome. Okay, do we have anybody who would like to start any discussion of the agreement that we're looking at?
Trustee Chin? Sure. Let me first just say that, the rec has been an incredible partner. The city has been an incredible partner in terms of how they've been really serving our community, especially our kids. The youth programs have been fantastic. My kids have participated in them throughout, starting when they were in preschool with Fun Club. And, just watching them all sort of grow and having even counselors who were former students or current students that are at Mills has just been a wonderful addition. And, watching also the city sort of offer more services to our community throughout the years has also been excellent. I really appreciated when they introduced adult sports to the programs for our community. And, they've just been really great partners for our community. I think one of the things that I had a question on is really just the way that this agreement works. I was a little bit confused. I understand the lump sum payment here, which is the way the contract reads, is $110,000 for field maintenance, which the city does an amazing job maintaining those fields. We have the most pristine fields on the peninsula, and everybody loves playing on our fields. And an additional 40-something thousand for our portion of the water. I think where I'm a little bit confused is on this annual credit. So traditionally, we've always sort of allowed our students to play after-school sports and, on our fields and in our facilities for free, because I think the origination of this agreement was that the rec was going to take over sort of these youth sports programs. And so it made sense that there was this agreement where, it's for our students and therefore there shouldn't be charges to use those facilities. Adult sports and summer camps are sort of a little bit of a gray area because those have always been an optional thing in which when those were introduced, there's an additional sort of wear and tear on our buildings and cost in terms of utilities and those types of things. And I'm just confused as to how the credit works because those are true out-of-pocket expenses. And, we certainly want to make sure that we are being great partners to the city as well as a district in terms of how we actually, charge for those things. We're not trying to make any profit or anything like that. We want to make sure we're just cost recovery. So I think we modified, and I was really pleased to see that we modified our rates of usage for these buildings, whether it's for, Taylor Auditorium, Shea, classrooms, and so on, to be, I think, very, very reasonable rates. $10 an hour for a classroom is pretty reasonable, especially when we look at what our published Civic Center rates are. In addition, we've got really good rates for the larger rooms as well. It's to the point where I think it's very affordable for us to be able to offer great programs for our community adults and in the summer at an affordable rate to our community members. But I'm a little bit confused because this credit, the way I read it, and maybe I'm not reading it correctly, is not something in which we get cost recovery. And so I want to just ask the question if I'm reading it correctly, because I thought that the goal was to get cost recovery, not profit, but to sort of get cost recovery for the wear and tear and the real actual cash out that we would be spending on some of those programs that are outside of serving our students directly. So I don't know if anybody can sort of speak to that, because maybe I'm not interpreting the contract correctly.
Do you want, Mr. Williams, do you want to speak to that podium? Thank you.
It's always good to be on this side so you get the logistics of a meeting and you sit back and go, wow, we got a lot of work to do on this building. But President Ferrario, members of the board, Tom Williams, city manager here at the city of Millbrae, and I'd like to echo those comments. The relationship that we have with the school district is just outstanding, and obviously working together to serve the community is all of our objective. I am going to go a little bit off agenda here and just say that was amazing. The kids from Meadows, their public speaking, and I think somebody had mentioned them looking at the audience and being prepared. Truly amazing. And it is great because the life I lead versus, you know, what you get to see, seeing those kindergartners, it actually does put a smile on your face. So anyway, congratulations to a great job all the time. But with that, to answer your question, Director Chin, the total cost for us to provide services to the school district, where it's basically 2/3 to the city of Millbrae, 1/3 to the district, is right around $215,000. So when we've been negotiating the contract, there was a bid that the school district received for maintenance of the fields, and that bid was started at $110,000. So if the school district needs to go out and hire somebody to maintain the fields, that was the base cost. And so we took that and said, okay, $110,000 would go to the city to offset 1/3 of the cost. The remainder cost to get to $215,000, we would work off of a credit. So instead of charging the district $215,000, we said, okay, we'll charge you what your bid was that you would otherwise have to pay in cash. And then we would work off a credit for the rental of the facilities. The way that works is if we get up to that remaining $110,000 or so, I'm rounding here. If we exceed that credit, then we start paying the rental rate. If we don't exceed that credit and say there's a difference, say $20,000, $30,000 a year, that just goes away. So any surplus in any given year does not roll over. It's a use it or lose it for the city, but it makes up, it's a way to make up the difference for the cost as we're all, you know, have the same goal, right? Cost recovery, but not have costs such that it's going to price anybody out of participating. So I hope that explains it. If not, I can go into
And just
some
for
more
accuracy
details, but-
purposes, in Exhibit B, the total cost listed for the district's annual contribution is $232,885.
That's with the what are they? The credits, right?
Correct. I mean, I
Okay.
think that Mr. Williams was estimating at the 215, and I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I was.
Yeah, we know.
Correct. Thank you, Superintendent. That's where I was, you know.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just real quick, I was curious as to what types of budgeting things went into the line item of athletic field maintenance. So I know that's at 572,000, such and such, but what is that comprised of? Excuse me.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So that includes obviously our labor cost, all equipment, operation and maintenance cost, fertilizer, maintenance for sprinkler systems, lighting systems. So it's all costs for all 5 of the campuses. We can provide you with a very detailed, if the board would like, we can get that to the superintendent and you can email it out. Our staff went through a very line item by line item real costs, and that's how we came up with that.
Yeah. I guess my question was on the same line as Karen's, is the credit. So my understanding from the last time we were negotiating a few months ago, I think the maintenance, athletic field maintenance and the water we talked about, but the credit part, I thought one of the reasons we dropped our fees so low is because, first of all, adult sports was separate from the youth and summer camp. So there was a $60,000 that you guys were paying us for the adults and other stuff. So I just don't know how we went from we pay you $153, you pay us $60,000 for you using our field. I mean, our classrooms based on the fees that we kind of lowered a lot, to us giving you an extra $79,000 in credit. Yeah. So I just don't know where that $60,000 you paying us went to $79,000 in credit. So that's my confusion.
So the $60,000 was a previous agreement, and it gets very complicated because the way that the capital improvements for the school facilities were funded was through redevelopment funding, which no longer exists under state law. And so there were some bonds that the school district had issued. So above and beyond the $60,000, there was another payment that the city provided the school district annually on that bond debt service. And that was a 15-year term, and that expired, so that's no longer part of it. So so starting kind of, new, it is what is the cost for the city? And those costs are actual costs. What is the utilization that the school district uses for, school purposes, educational purposes? And then what is the amount of time that the fields are used for non-school districts? So our youth sports programs, our after-school programs, adult sports. So anyway, that's where we came up with it. And the pricing was a discussion of what would be reasonably charged to another governmental agency for cost recovery, right? So that amount should be the actual cost to recover, right? Not a cost that maybe you would charge to a private entity or a for-private entity that, does soccer lessons or lacrosse lessons or something like that. If that makes sense.
Through the $79,000 that we're looking up there, and then the word credit next to it. So walk us through like a time where you want to rent out the Shea Center. So walk us through that. How does that apply to that $79,000?
Yeah, so that applies to our summer camp program, where we rent out facilities. And so there's a modeling of all of the anticipated hours that we use, right? And so so all the line items in your report, it adds up to what otherwise we would have to pay, but you're working off that credit. Because let's just say, for example, if you decide not to provide us with that credit, then I would say, okay, your cost to the school district is $230,000 for your fair share of the maintenance. And so I think as Board Member Chin was referring to, we want to preserve our cash flow and we want to preserve your cash flow, right? We don't want to have to, we'd rather kind of barter here in terms of saying, hey, here's some value, but it's a non-cash value. So in lieu of us paying, or in lieu of that credit, the other way to look at it is you could simply write us a check for your fair share of that $230,000 a year. Instead, you're writing a check for $110,000. And then we're working off of what we would rent the facilities, mostly during the time, yes, some adult sports, to get to that additional 79 or up to that remaining amount, 120,000 or whatever.
So in other words, you're going to rent the Shea Center out. It's going to be, let's say, $1,000 for the day. So how do you, walk me through that?
So that would go to a credit of?
Off the 79,
Correct.
now it's 78.
Right.
And so now we owe 78,000. We owe you 78,000, right?
No, it's you, so you owe us 110, right?
Yeah.
In hard cash payment. The value that you receive from the city in terms of maintenance of the fields is 230,000, right? That is what it would cost the district, 1/3 versus 2/3. Then the remainder, we work off the credit. So you don't owe us. You're just saying, hey, school district, city, we're going to give you this credit for this use.
So you get to shave for free, no $1,000.
Correct. Up to the difference in what you're paying us in the cash payment annually versus what our credit is to the 230,000. Once we get to that amount, anything above and beyond that, then we would actually owe you. We would pay the school district for this.
Trustee Chin.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this correctly. I'm thinking about our prior contract, the one we had for 15 years.
Correct.
To this contract. So in terms of field maintenance, that's all the prior contract covered. There was not a fields plus facilities, right? So that prior contract was a fields agreement, and it roughly was $60,000 for our portion of our use of the fields. Yes, there was this complicated loan thing, but let's just call that a wash, because you paid us, we paid the loan, and then it was a wash. But technically, we were paying about $60,000 for our portion of the field use for maintenance. Compared to this contract, we'd be paying $153,000, let's take the facilities out, for the field maintenance, including the water usage for our portion. So that would be kind of the apples to apples, right? Seems reasonable. You know, we're talking about 15 years. I'm sure the cost has gone up. In terms of the facilities piece, if we were to separate that out, before we paid nothing, you paid nothing for youth sports. You're not paying for youth sports here. You used to pay us a nominal fee when you added on summer camp. I think after the rec center burned down, you, at that point, as a city, agreed to contract with the school district for use of the summer camp, for use of our facilities for summer camp. I'm not sure if you used our facilities for much else, maybe I don't know, I can't remember. And then we had added on adult sports, of which you paid for a fee. That was pretty reasonable based upon cost. Now we're looking at, so that was a cash inflow. And I understand you don't want to necessarily pay cash inflow. But now, if I'm looking at it right, we went from receiving money for the facilities to now basically paying cost recovery on our own dime of $79,000, assuming that, you know, that's the real cost recovery. So up to $79,000 is really out of pocket on our end in terms of utilities, water, you know, custodial, depreciation on, you know, having to redo the floors and those types of things. So I guess I am a little bit confused because it makes a lot of sense from a fields perspective, you know, that's a reasonable amount. The facilities piece, I kind of got very confused because I thought that the payment was going the other direction. I'm sorry, that's just truly what I thought, that it was about cost recovery, right? So apples to apples, we were about cost recovery and that we wouldn't be out money, real money in terms of actually opening up our facilities for adults and for summer. So I'm not trying to renegotiate right here. I just wanted to make sure I understood everything correctly so that when I look at the old contract and this contract, I know how I'm thinking about it so that when it's brought up the next time, I'm thinking about it correctly. So is that your understanding in terms of like the prior contract to this contract?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, one of the ways to look at it is we do away with the credit and we say, this is your cost, this is your fair share of the cost, right? Which is $230,000. So that's another way to look at it is, you know, and we would be okay with that. And then we would pay you what your government rate is for then the facilities that we use. And so you'd pay us $230,000, and let's say we rent your facilities for $70,000, right? We would just pay you back versus working off of a credit. So does that make sense? So you would.
Yeah, no, I understand. I guess.
So that, I mean, there's two ways to look at it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Either way.
I get that. I guess I was not really anchoring off the original 230,000 for the maintenance piece, just because we've gone from, 180,000, I guess maybe in the old contract, to now 700,000+. And we had a bid for 110,000, of which that would be 100%, not 1/3, but 100% maintenance, right? If we were to take only 1/3 of our use of that field, then it would be looking at 110 times 1/3, which is like $38,000 or something I'm doing off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty huge difference. Water is water, but we're talking about a pretty massive differential here between the bid that we received at 110,000 for 100% field maintenance and the 720,000, I can't remember what the number is, for 100% of the field maintenance that your bid is.
Yeah, I would recommend you take a look at the Kachina bid because it was very basic. And so every time a sprinkler would get kicked over, every time there was some type of maintenance lighting or something, that would be a significant added cost. And at least in my experience, I think you would exceed that $230,000 pretty quickly, actually. If you were to say, so that's a cost benefit that I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably right because, it's not 100% apples to apples. But then again, our portion would only be 1/3 of that, right?
No, it would be, then that's where we would have to strike a new agreement to say, okay, you're maintaining the fields, therefore, city, we're going to charge you, right? And then you would charge us whatever. You would manage the fields, you would maintain the fields. So you would deal with all the youth sports programs and just take care of it. And then we would, based on our needs, pay that fee to the school district, whatever it may be, depending on our demand for the usage. Correct, right.
Then you would become the renter.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out, and I'm sure it's in here somewhere, but how do we recoup our expenditures to keep our buildings and our classrooms, our floors, everything up to par?
Well, I mean, I would refer to your staff to answer that question.
I think coming into this, because I came in in January, and this was already halfway in the process of negotiation. And I guess, as a new person, this is what I would have said. Okay, the district netted 120,000, is my understanding. And so at this point now, instead of netting that, we would be paying 232. So it's a pretty large difference. And is all of that cost in just the 15 years of, added cost of athletic field maintenance? Or I guess that was a question I had when I first came in, right?
So some of the background, as I understand it, and some of you may know more than I do, the way that was structured was the school district paid some of the capital cost, and then the city paid some of the capital cost. So as was noted, the fields were not even usable. I mean, kids at Spring Valley, and other elementary schools, I think the fields were closed. It was so unsafe. And so together, and again, the way the funding worked is there was, the tax revenue laws were different. And so we used redevelopment funding to pay the lion's share of the improvements. The district paid some of that, issued a bond. We also agreed to pay that bond debt service. So that's where the agreement that expired versus today, it really is apples to oranges. It really isn't a good apples to apples comparison. Anyway, that being said, then we looked at, okay, now we are 15 years later, 16 years later, maintaining the fields. Here's the cost, here's the city's cost to maintain the field. And based on the usage, that's basically where we're split 2/3 to the city, 1/3, to the school district, as we mentioned. So how you then are able to have a fair rate, right, that goes into janitorial, PG&E, wear and tear on the building. I think that's built into your rate structure. To your point, you know, when you look at it and say, okay, city, you're getting a heck of a deal here on the hourly rate. That came from what would your normal rate be to us to just be cost recovery, and that's the rate that we've agreed to, at least at our level. So we've agreed to that. So I think that's the difference in the rate versus an hourly rate to a private entity or whatever.
In total transparency, I think that was in good, you know, good faith, not thinking that there was going to be another $79,000 added on. You know, the original agreement I thought was the 153 and then, or the 110 and the 43, but now the credit part, because after we finished our last meetings that I attended, the credits were kind of off. We didn't talk about credits any longer.
Yeah.
So.
Again,
anyway.
we're okay from the city's perspective, not city council, because I never speak for them, but from staff, however you want to do it. Here's your annual fair share cost for the maintenance, whether that's the $230,000. We can do it that way, or we can, again, you know, in an attempt to preserve each other's cash flow, right? Work off of what bid that you would have your minimum bid, not we didn't even escalate it and say, okay, if Kachina has to fix sprinklers and lighting and, you know, other maintenance, what that cost would be. We didn't even want to try to estimate that. Either way, we're fine. But anyway, so we were then just trying to work off the credit. But either scenario works for us. Because I will tell you, we ran the numbers. We're never going to get to the difference between 110,000 and the 230,000. So in reality, you will always receive, in essence, a discount of $30,000 to $40,000 a year that it does not roll over, right? That if we don't use it, we just lose it. So if you think about it, it's you know, and I'm not trying to sell it because I'm good either way. I think that this does benefit the district.
Yeah, you know, you were talking about, Tom, you were talking about all the things that we would have to do hypothetically if we didn't come to this agreement. And so the first thing that came to my mind is, what would the school district do? What would we have to do to get a Parks and Rec department in the school district to run all these different things that you're doing right now? What would it cost?
Yeah, I mean, field management alone, I don't know. I'd have to get back to you on it. I don't really have it off the top of my head divided that way. But because it's so integrated from our recreation director to our recreation manager to our rec staff in terms of managing and allocating the fields, because it's built in. I could extrapolate that. I have it. I just don't want to quote it because
It sounds like more than $70-some thousand a year.
Yeah, I mean, just even the software for, you know, AYSO, MGSA, Millbrae Lions baseball, you know, there's a lot of additional work kind of behind the scenes to manage all of that. And then you know, this doesn't benefit the school district, but during those games, you know, we have a staff there, actually 2 staff people there to maintain the fields in case something breaks down, if a game needs to be delayed. That we can jump in there and fix it. A lot of broken sprinklers, actually, believe it or not, when there's youth sports. I can't even mention the people that have their dogs off of leashes that run the fields that we're constantly chasing and picking up after.
I have a dog. So we're going to, so the way I'm understanding is the district will subsidize the city for $79,000 in school usage, right, space. But the city will be able to recoup some costs by after-school sports. So you're going to be charging whatever for programs, right? So you're going to take all of that money, right?
So it is not a subsidy, right? So again, the best way I can explain it is either we bill you for the $230,000 and you make that payment. And then anytime we need school facilities, then we pay the school for whatever that hourly rate is based on your rate schedule. This is a way that we are crediting you what you owe us. So instead of collecting the cash, you're giving us a credit. So it's not a subsidy. Anything over $230,000 that you would give to us then would be a subsidy. But that's not in the agreement. That won't happen.
So I wasn't clear on the 230,000, that's what you collect, right?
That's what it costs us. That's what it costs you in terms of your allocation of how much the school district uses all 4 fields during the school day.
Got it.
So 5 days a week from, I think, 8:30 to 3 o'clock is the hours that the school district uses the fields exclusively.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I just have a quick comment. I'm kind of new to this negotiations because I wasn't part of the last 15 years, I guess, when you guys were doing this. But my understanding, just from hearing this, is that there's 110 athletic field maintenance, and that was based on a bid that we had gotten that would cost what would it cost us to run or maintain our fields. But what I'm seeing the difference is your quote from the city on this contract is $572,000 is what you're saying it's going to cost to maintain. So I see the discrepancy between our conversation is we're looking at 110 maintenance fee, but what's actually going to cost now is $572,000.
No, the 502, that's the total cost to the city. And then we allocate what your percentage
Right,
that
but
cost
what
is
if
then.
we did it without the city, it would be 110 because that was the bid that we got.
But to be clear, Mr. Crane, that was just for kind of general mowing, and I don't know what the bid contained.
So that's where I'm getting confused on this, and that's why I asked about what is in the athletic field maintenance. What is that 570,000 bid? What is that? What is that for? As opposed to what is this $110,000 bid? What is that for? I think if we understood what we're going to get for that money, it would be easier to kind of understand why there's going to be a credit of $79,000 for you to use buildings, because we're going to be getting some cost savings on what it's going to be to maintain these fields and keep them up with repairs and whatnot. Because I think we're looking at 2 different contracts, at least from my view.
Well, I think that's a great question, right? So the total cost is what it costs the city. And we have, the allocation of all of our, from, fuel to fertilizer to, as I mentioned, staffing costs, labor costs, all of that. And we can provide that to you. Versus, and I think I'll let your staff speak to the Kachina contract, which I did review. And that's kind of basically a mow and blow type service then with additional, if there's a game on Sunday afternoon, and again, I use a sprinkler, if somebody kicks over a sprinkler and there's a water leak, and you have to call that company out, they're going to charge you extra for that.
No, so that makes a clearer picture for me.
They're going to charge you extra for, certain types of fertilization, aeration of the fields, all of that, so.
Right.
So I can get you that information on the quote. It did include aeration. It did include fertilization. It was more than just a mow and blow, but it did not include some of the maintenance costs that would come up for, sprinkler repair is extra. So we would, if we had to go that route, we would ask our own maintenance crew to repair some of those sprinklers, or we would call them in if it was a more needed repair that they couldn't handle.
Okay.
And was the frequency the same, once a week?
Actually, they were coming in twice a week.
For mowing.
Okay, but currently the city, is there at each site once a week. But you're saying they were coming in twice a week to cover all 5 schools?
Right now, the city goes into each site once a week. They were going to come into each site twice a week.
To mow. Okay. I think that's where I'm finding the sticking point, is what services are included in each of these cost bids that were there.
And we have some of the detail from earlier, that the spreadsheet that was shared with the district from the city, and so we can provide that to you, and can also provide you the detailed quote that we received, so you can see what the $110,000 does include.
Right. Okay. That makes sense to me now. Better. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom, for being here and clarifying some of those questions. And I'm sure we'll be getting back and seeing how this all comes to pass.
Yeah, no, thank you. And, this is just to make sure you get all of the information that you need to move forward. So thank you.
Moving to board operations, if you want. This should be a quick item, but we received a ballot in the mail to vote for the CSBA delegates for San Mateo County. There are 3 candidates for 3 positions. So the candidates include Chelsea Bodini from San Mateo County Office of Education, Sophia Lane from Cabrillo Unified School District, and Patricia Murray from South San Francisco Unified School District. The ballot deadline is March 15th, but it does require board action to move ahead and vote for the 3 candidates for the 3 positions.
Okay, this is an action item. Do I have a motion to approve the candidate slate?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
Great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Possible future agenda items. Superintendent Chin. Hickey. Chin Hickey.
I think we've made some good progress looking at what we talked about in January in terms of our presentations. So I don't know if you have anything to add. We are in March, and I know our next meeting is quite full. We also have just one meeting in April, and then Lomita Park will be our school spotlight in May. So, and we also have LCAP coming up, so those will take the large portion of agenda items in June, as well as budget. So if there's any other presentations you would like between now and the end of the year, now would be the time to share those.
Is there anything from the board? No, I think we're good. Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to adjourn this meeting at, what time is it? 9:30, 9:24. Thank you.